Thousands of Israelis came to the Jerusalem's Givat Shaul cemetery to show their support for the two grieving French families, those who knew them and many who did not.
Today it's of all Israel. We cry about this day.
We are one people, and Nachne B'nai Israel. We are all Am Echad, and we're all one family. And this is a tragedy that strikes every one of us.
In a service before the burial, the bodies of the 4 victims, wrapped in traditional burial shrouds, were placed before the crowd of relatives and dignitaries. That's when the weeping and wailing of the mourners began, and it never really let up. Coffins are not used by Orthodox Jews, so there was no hiding the fact that the shooter had gunned down very young, innocent children in his rampage at the Jewish school in Toulouse, France. Gabriel Sandler was just 3 years old, his brother Aryeh was 6, and the daughter of the school's principal, Miriam Monsonego, was only 8. The only adult victim, 30-year-old Rabbi Yonatan Sandler, was killed along with his 2 young sons, Gabriel and Aryeh. French authorities say the suspected shooter, Mohamed Mara, told them he specifically wanted to kill Jewish children to avenge the deaths of Palestinian children. He claims to be affiliated with al-Qaeda. The Speaker of the Israeli Parliament, Reuben Rivlin, opened the memorial service. He said Israel and Jews around the world are standing with the bereaved families, sharing their pain. Citing numerous other terrorist attacks, Rivlin lamented that Jews are targeted because they are Jews. Terrorists, he said, never distinguish between the religious and the secular, the Ashkenazim or Sephardim. But he vowed that what he called the, quote, vast, dark, unflinching hatred for Jews would not prevail. Jews all over the world will continue to thrive, and the State of Israel, he promised, would ensure this. Both of Israel's chief rabbis gave somber eulogies, citing passages from the Torah and asking God to console the families. Chief Sephardic Rabbi Shlomo Amar couldn't hold back his tears. He promised God would avenge the spilled blood of the victims. In a display of solidarity, French Foreign Minister Alain Juppe came to the memorial service. France, he promised, will protect its Jews and won't tolerate terrorism. Anti-Semitism, he said, goes against the values of the Republic, and attacks against Jews are seen as attacks against the French people at large. Relatives of the slain spoke last. Rabbi Yonatan Sandler's father spoke lovingly of his grandchildren and their animated personalities. He praised his son, who studied in a religious school in Jerusalem and was committed to bringing Jews closer to Judaism. Eva Sandler, Yonatan's wife, did not speak. The native Israeli has returned home a widow and a bereaved mother, losing 2 young children, Gabriel and Aryeh. Moti Goldstein was with Eva on the plane from France to Israel.
She's always talking about how she wants to continue and not to stop. She's having a very hard time, very hard situation. I think in a couple of days we'll see a very, very special woman with a lot of strength leading everybody.
Emotions peaked at the funeral during the speech of Avishai Monsonego, whose 8-year-old sister Miriam died. Wailing, he begged his sister to ask God to give his parents the strength to recover and the strength to continue being present for their remaining children. Dad and Mom, he said, we still need you. Israel Ayash, who grew up in Toulouse, says Miriam's father, Yaakov, is in shock over the loss of his daughter.
He's very sad, he's crying, and doesn't understand. Because, you know, Toulouse, it's a very small town in France, so we couldn't imagine that one day we will have a terrorist attack there, and because it's a terrorist attack, and I don't have words. It's very sad.
The Israeli government paid to have the victims of the Toulouse shooting buried here in the land of Israel, since it considered them victims of terror. 3 young children and a rabbi were stolen from this world, killed in cold blood, simply because they were Jews. Many here are now praying their souls, at least, will find some peace in the hills of Jerusalem. After this very difficult and emotional day, these 2 families, the Sandlers and the Monsonegos, are expected to stay here in Israel to observe the traditional Jewish mourning period of 7 days called the Shiva. That will begin tonight. Thousands of Israelis are expected to pass by their homes and pay personal visits and share their condolences with these families. This is a tragedy that seems to have brought the French community closer to the people and state of Israel. Jordana Miller, JN1, Jerusalem.